Welcome to the Achieve Workplace Culture podcast, where we try to find actionable ways for you to improve, sustain, and make your workplace culture just great. I'm here today with my co-hosts and colleagues, Wendy Lowen and Chris Downey. In a word, how are you two feeling about today's cast?
I'm feeling sparky.
Sparky. I'm feeling conflicted.
And I'm feeling disagreeable.
Ooh, What are we talking about?
Yes, well, today we're going to explore the topic of how you encourage dissenting voices in the workplace. And actually, I want to unpack that a little bit with both of you too.
Yeah.
Is dissenting the right word? Anyway, that's what we're going to go today. And well, let's start with that. Dissenting voices. What do you think about that idea?
Can I go first on this one?
Yeah,
Because that
go for
actually
it.
links to my point about conflicted.
Yeah.
Is that I think and I've been one to say we need to encourage dissenting voices or dissenting voices, but is that the word? I don't know that it really is, because I think that has a negative connotation. So someone sharing a different perspective than mine, I don't think is dissenting. I think it's actually necessary.
Yeah.
Huh.
Right? So I don't know what the other word is, but I feel conflicted with this because I don't think someone having a different opinion than me actually is dissent.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I was thinking very much in the
Right.
same vein. It's that it's not, our language matters. And if we say it's a disagreement or someone is dissenting, it means that our perspective is the right one,
Right.
and they're the dissenting voice, as opposed to we want all voices so that we can
Right.
understand, make a good decision, chart a course of action
Yeah.
based on a clearer picture of what's actually happening.
Okay, let me disagree for a minute.
Okay.
All right.
Is that dissent? No.
It
Carry
might
on.
be
Go
dissent.
Ahead. Go ahead.
I believe that it's going to be really difficult for us to change the way we use language culturally around disagreement and dissent. And therefore, I think we should encourage disagreement in the workplace,
Yep.
not to stay stuck in disagreement, but to have disagreement. I don't like the word dissent so much because dissent tends to be like, well, we have all decided this, and then there's one person who has dissented and
Right.
is not willing to
Yeah.
support that decision. That's not what we're talking about so
Yeah.
much, but we are talking about, look, if you have a different perspective than me, Wendy, and you think I'm making a mistake or the team's making a mistake, we got to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
That's a disagreement.
I think to that point, Eric, I said, let's encourage disagreement. Disagreeing is not dissenting.
Right, okay.
I think that's the key. That is the key,
Yes.
the key element. I think I'll even go into some of the work that we do around respectful workplace. We talk about respect being an active state, right? And you can't get to respect without interaction. And it's where in the interaction where respect lives or dies, right? Because we could have completely different perspectives on where we want to go with something. Even we could have different political views.
Right.
We don't need to agree on that, but we can be highly respectful. So I like this. We should encourage disagreement. But interesting, I was smiling because one of the things I was thinking about is what's one of the most common things people come up with when they have a differing opinion in the room. Maybe they're that one lone voice. What do they often? What's the phrase you often hear?
I'm not sure.
Devil's advocate.
Devil's advocate. Oh,
Right,
interesting.
so
yeah.
I'm just playing devil's
No.
advocate, which there's two things. One, I say, tell me what you actually really think, because the devil doesn't actually need an advocate,
Yes.
for one. But we actually, you're putting a negative connotation on
Right.
that disagreement. It's like, can I play devil's advocate? It's like, is it really the devil's situation, or is this just another way of looking at it? So I think we make disagreement a bad thing when it's not. It's the root of innovation,
Right.
creativity. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think personally, I like varying perspectives better than disagreement. That's
Okay.
just my own leaning. Because I think even in a group, if you all agree and you think this is the best way to go, I think if you want to make a good decision as a group, you want to consider alternative perspectives other than the whole collective. So whether you call it disagreeing or alternate perspectives, I think the core idea is very important, that there's
Yeah.
enough safety within a group
Yeah.
to let people have their own opinion, and also enough humility as a group to realize that we could all be missing something here.
I love that, Wendy. I think that's great. And I'm just going to throw this out there. I think conceptually, people generally will say, yep, that makes sense. How do you do that when there is passion or strong belief in the thing that we're talking about?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question. So let's shift language from can I be the devil's advocate to can I be an advocate for a different way of thinking here?
Yeah.
That might help
That's
us
actually a good one.
shift
Yeah.
it. Can I be an advocate for a different way of thinking here? But how do you do it when you feel strongly about it is your question, right?
Yep.
So one of the things that I have found really helpful over the past 20 some odd years that I've been a mediator is walking into a room with a couple of people who have very different ideas about how to solve a problem. So they're passionate in their disagreement. Like, no, it's this way. No, it's that way, right? And they have this strong feeling about how to solve something. One of the things that the mediator does, and this any leader can do this, is say, as soon as somebody says, I think we should do X, your job is to say, can you say more about that?
Yep.
What about that? What's important about that? And the word what's important about that begins to shift somebody out of like being stuck with their particular solution into here are the things that we need to consider to solve for.
Yep.
And when you do that with both people, all of a sudden you're talking about something called interest, which I think is a total game changer.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, Eric, because one of the things that I've come to learn about myself is I can want to prove my point. I want to be right. I've got this need to be right in a moment. And depending on what it is, I'm at risk because what can happen, we feel really passionate about something, even if it's a political perspective, emotions are tied to it. Right? And if it's really charged, we run the risk of reacting based off our emotion, actually not based off of what's going on. You see this all the time when political disagreements, people don't get along, all of a sudden we're yelling at each other. And I've been working on trying to remain curious. I was actually talking with a psychologist, I was out for dinner with him, his organizational psychologist, and I was telling him about some of the things I've been working on to try to make sure I understand perspective. He goes, what's something that you do? I said, the more polarizing the perspective I hear, the more I lean into asking a curious question. So what you'll hear me say is, tell me about that, which I think lines up with what you're saying. And what he said was, there's neuroscience to back that up. When you ask a curious question, your brain, it's like a break for your brain where you actually jumps back. You can't not go back to your prefrontal cortex or executive functioning.
Interesting.
So you leave your emotion and you go right to the executive functioning, right? It's a hack for your brain if you want to use that.
Yeah, nice.
And then that gets you actually thinking again. And so what I've done is that's now applied when there are conflicting issues going on in our workplaces or even in our society. I don't need to talk to more Chris's. I already know what I think. I need to actually seek somebody else out, but I have to seek it with curiosity in order to be there. So I like what you're saying. Say, tell me more, which is why mediators will do that.
Yeah.
Because there is logic behind that other perspective.
Absolutely.
Even if it's not ours. And that's what we need to get to. The disagreement might be on the approach that we take. The perspectives, though, we can actually, that's what we need to get to. So I like what you were saying, Wendy, about what did you say? Encourage varying perspectives, but how can we get to those perspectives? Asking curious questions.
And I think as a leader, that's really important because if somebody in a group environment says something that you have a different opinion about or you disagree on, and you go into your litany of reasons why that's not going to work or is not a good idea, that is sending a message to the person who is bringing that forward, but it also is sending a message to the larger group around we have one person or a group of people who make these decisions, and if we have ideas and bring them forward, it's at the mercy and at their discretion. They're not going to be explored.
How do we create conditions? So I think we give a say, it's good to encourage that, but how do we do that in a way that people are actually feeling safe enough to throw those ideas out on the table?
Exactly. A few years ago, we needed to solve a tech problem here. We wanted to create an e-course that could be hosted on our website that's different from our pre-recorded workshops, but one that's more sort of interactive. And so we needed some software to do that. And there was a team of people tasked with finding that software. The group met for a while and came up with an idea, a recommendation. And we were about ready to press go on that when somebody came back from vacation who works with our website. And she felt safe enough to say, I think we're making a big mistake.
Yep.
I think what's going to happen if we do that is it's going to cost this and it's going to have this issue. I think we should think again and go somewhere else. Now, it'd be easy to be frustrated, the group of 5 or so that had made a recommendation, but we had to listen to that voice. And I'm so grateful that she spoke up because she saved us thousands of dollars, maybe tens of thousands of dollars in the end by speaking up. So the question again is, what makes somebody safe enough to do that? We need people to do that all the time.
Yeah.
And so how do we encourage dissent, to use the title of the...
Sure.
Well,
go ahead, Wendy.
Well, I was going to say, we have lots of examples when people don't speak up that can be even more hurtful and harmful than a few dollars here or there. And I think when it comes to culture, when we know what our mission is, what the expectation around quality of work, and we're all committed to that, then all of a sudden somebody saying, hey, Wendy, I think you need to slow down or you need to question that is actually valuable information to me because the goal is the best product at the end.
I agree, and I couldn't agree more. However, what we need to be mindful of is encouraging it, and how we respond is most important, because you're absolutely right. If people don't speak up, we might miss and mistakes are going to get made. So we need that to happen. But how do we respond? So let's play a scenario out where someone speaks up, right? And you're the leader in this situation.
Your first response needs to be thank you.
100%. Because you might, and I'm sure we have done this, where we've said, hey, we want to hear opinions, and we've gone in a completely different direction. Well, we encourage the dissenting voices, went in a different direction, but if we don't close that loop and recognize, thank you for sharing that, and then maybe even explaining why we went in the direction that we did. So I think we want to encourage it and make sure that we don't leave that voice unattended. Maybe there's a way of trying to say that, you know, because I think we can just move on and be happy. Oh, that's so great you spoke up. We still went in a different direction.
Yeah.
And for some people, speaking up takes a lot of courage depending on where they are in the organization. And so I think our first response should always be one of, tell me more about that. I'd like to understand what went into it. What are you thinking? What are you hoping for? What are you apprehensive about if we don't do that? Because even if we've given them the voice and thanked them, there's something that's gone into them coming forward. They've got a reason why they feel compelled to share what they're sharing.
For sure.
Yeah. So create, permission disagreement. That's one. I think one of the things you're talking about too, Wendy, is some people don't always feel confident to speak up. We can train for that. We can actually show people how to speak up in a way that can be heard. But then we also need to work with our leaders and help them respond in helpful ways when somebody does speak up with the thank you. And what you're talking about, Chris, is the circling back. So one of the interesting things about decision-making that we've learned from research over the years is that people can usually live with a decision even if they don't win by the decision, as long as they felt like their voice was heard in the process. So let's imagine, going back to my website example, somebody speaks up last minute and we say, thank you so much. We really appreciate that. You know what? We've actually done some consideration of that along with some other things. In the end, we're going to continue with the path we went on, but thanks for speaking up. That's an important perspective, and we'll keep your questions in mind as we move forward. Something like that. So it's like, we've considered this. Thank you. We value it. Do it again next time. Next time, it might actually change what we're doing. This time, it doesn't.
And I think a lot of these conversations happen in a meeting environment. So giving people the decision that's being contemplated ahead of time so they can come with their ideas. And then it's not just the person who's the most confident or the loudest that gets to speak, but that there's the opportunity for everyone. Like even I think the underused strategy of round robin, going around letting everybody, and even if they pass, that's fine, but there is the opportunity. And then there's clarification that happens with each person who's sharing. But it means you have to slow down and make that a part of not just, I've got my agenda, I think it should go this way, But let's hear everybody's and let's consider it.
I agree. And maybe a take on this that is important, though, because we talk about decision making. And there's a time to offer your perspective, and there's a time to keep it to yourself. I'm actually thinking about a situation. Maybe as you're a leader, and you said, hey, I'd like you guys to come up with a new solution for this situation. And you on vacation, come back, and they've got a solution. If you're really, I'm empowering you to do this, we got to be careful that we don't come in and it's like, I'm just speaking up, but that's a terrible idea. We change it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We need to be mindful that, you want to mark this time? I'm going to cough here. Sorry.
We need to be mindful.
We need to be mindful that if we're in a position of power, our dissenting voice might be appropriate in a moment. And there might be times where actually, you know what? It's not helpful here. I just want to put that out there, that we do want to encourage other perspectives, but there are times where, you know what? The team's made a decision. We're going to go with that, even though we have this nagging feeling.
If you've given the decision away, you have to truly give it away.
Right.
If you're simply saying, come up with a recommendation for me to consider, that's a totally different thing. And then you can dissent as a leader,
100%.
but you need to decide and stick with what you've put out there.
Sure.
Yeah, as a process. We need to wrap up this podcast on dissent and disagreement and dissenting voices. I'm wondering if either of you have a quick summary for our listeners about something they can take away today after listening to this podcast and implement when they walk into their office.
We want to make space and time for varying opinions and disagreements. We want to encourage people and create a culture of safety where people can come forward and share their ideas.
Thanks, Wendy. And that's the end of today's show. If you liked what you heard, please like it, share it, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the Achieve Workplace Culture podcast.
Looking for free resources, training, and consulting in the areas of leadership and workplace culture? Be sure to check out achievecenter.com. That's achieve, CENTRE.com.